Hello and welcome to the second edition of Full Throttle. We are live yet again with me, Matt Josie, and tonight we welcome a new panellist, Jordan Hollands, who will be here to discuss meetings like the Kings Lynn All Granada meeting that was hosted just this weekend gone. Sadly, no Andy Watts tonight. He couldn't make it tonight, but he will be back next Thursday from 8 p.m. for episode 3 of Full Throttle. So let's get on with it. So we welcome Jordan Hollands. Hello.
Hello. Good evening, Matt. Good evening, everyone. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be good to have you on board. Obviously, you will be joining in on the discussions, and you went to the Granada meeting, which was on just this weekend, which we'll get onto in a minute. Just explain to us, those who don't know you, what sort of tracks do you go to, and are there any other formulas you're into other than banger racing?
I'm into everything and anything motorsport related, really. Circuit racing is up there as well. Stuff like British touring cars and World Rallycross and stuff like that. And pretty much the same thing with short circuit oval racing, really. National hot rods, brisk F1s, anything really. Tracks we go to, me and my dad sort of just travel around a lot more, because we feel that travelling around a lot more, you get to see more tracks, different drivers, and in a way, probably better meetings. Yeah, that's what I
definitely.
do.
That's good to hear. I mean, obviously, I'm not just into banger racing. I'm also into the saloon stock cars and brisk F1s. So it's all good to see you into different formulas as well. I'm going to kick things off with the reports section. And we're going to start at Eastbourne a few weeks ago, which hosted the annual Classic Carnage meeting. This year's theme was the Battle of the Bilge, so it was more of an unders class meeting. Overall, around 50 cars turned up. However, sadly this meant 20 odd no-shows, which was disappointing to report at the time. But despite that, the meeting in the end, you got what it said in the tin basically. You had nudge and spin heats with full contact final and a full contact destruction derby. Boxer Jack was very rapid in his car, as a lot of people have been discussing on social media over the past few weeks. Patch was on form, even had a head-on with 346. But it was Will Brazier in the 340 car, a Vauxhall Nova to be exact, who took the grand final. He was not only the youngest drivers out there, but probably he also had one of the newest cars out there. But so something different won the final, but well done to him. There was also a recovery vehicle race, which was a bit of fun. But yeah, I'd say overall it was a decent meeting. You got what it said on the tin. Ferry Ford Tibbs took a bit of a beating in his heat and second heat overall. We then move on to the Unlimited Back to Basic meeting at Aldershot the following day on the Sunday. It was a decent meeting again. Not too much to talk about over there, apart from 713 Lauren Annette, who took out possibly one of the first Honda streams in the sport. There has been talk that maybe there has been another driver somewhere in the country, more specifically Ringwood, where one might have been raced, but we don't know how certain they are of that. So Lauren Nets was possibly the first ever Honda stream. 239 Nemesis was also at the meeting, which was a bit of a shock. I don't think he was booked in for the meeting either. And also a huge return for 323 Waspy, who made his welcome return to Bang Racing for the first time in at least a fair few years. Sadly, he took a bit of an injury in the grand final, which delayed the meeting a little bit, but we're glad to report that he has recovered since that nasty crash. Moving on next is the meeting that was on last weekend. It was the Kings Lynn All Granada meeting, which Jordan would talk to you about now because I didn't go in the end. But it sounded like a good meeting. How was it?
Yeah, no, I thought it was a great meeting actually. It probably wasn't as lively as the Ringwood meeting last year or the Arena Ollie Moran meeting in 2013, but I think in a way that's got to be down to the amount of money the drivers have spent on cars and the amount of preparation that went into them. I mean, no one wants to go and write off a car that they've spent ages working on and spent a lot of money on in the first race of the night. I think it was Sean Stark actually said in the programme that when this meeting was announced, he didn't even have a car to race. So he just spent £650 on raffle tickets trying to win one, and then didn't have any luck at that. So he just went out and bought one for £850. So that just goes to show you that the Granadas are getting
cheap.
more and more expensive.
Yeah, it's not cheap. And of course, I mean, how do you feel about, from a spectator viewpoint, going into the meeting? What do you expect from the meeting? Like, people were sort of expecting maybe a wreckfest like the Ringwood All Granada meeting last year. Do you think spectators are looking at it in the wrong way? I mean, was there more to be expected crashing wise or not?
I mean, yeah, there was a lot of hype about it, and I think we were spoiled actually with the Ringwood meeting last year and the arena meeting a few years ago. But to be honest, I was actually quite happy. I weren't expecting it to be a crash fest, if I'm totally honest. But to be honest, maybe the format didn't help either. I mean, Trackstar split the cars up into new engines and old engines, and maybe that wasn't the way to go. We had some races with mid-20s fields on track, and then others were like near on 40 cars. So the split was a little bit uneven. So maybe they should have just put them in all together. Maybe generate a little bit more action and a lot more cars on track.
Yeah, of course. That was a massive talking point after the meeting and during the meeting itself, live on Oval Chat. Maybe it was their own little take on it, because obviously tracks like Ringwood and Arena, I don't believe they split the races like that. So do you think it was the right decision or not on the day?
To be honest, I don't think it was the right decision on the day. I think we had a good amount of races, but yeah, I don't think the format helped me. And I've actually created a little format by myself today. I think if they were to run the hearses and limos race and then a Mark 1 race and a couple of Mark 2 heats at the start of the meeting, I think maybe they should have been nudge and spin. And I know that's kind of a bit touch and go with some people, others like the nudge and spin heats and some people don't, but I think if you do that, I think each driver can have a nice little race in their car that they've spent ages working on and spent a lot of money on, and then maybe after that you can have maybe 4 or 5 heats depending on numbers, a consolation, qualifiers only final, and then all comers into DD, and those will all be run to full contact. So I think with that format, you may have got drivers happy with getting a race out of their car and then maybe encourage them to go and have a crash later on in the night.
Yeah, sounds like an interesting format, and hopefully other promotions will consider that in the future with future Granada meetings, which we will get onto later on in the show. But moving on to the next meeting, it was on Sunday. Stanlake hosted the annual Trigger Memorial meeting for Unlimited National Bangers and 1800cc Street Bangers. And overall, I must say, this was a very solid meeting and much better than what I had predicted and hoped before the meeting had started. Around 30 Unlimiteds took to the track, which I was a bit disappointed with at the time. However, the action proved us all wrong. Patch had a DS420 limo. There was an old left-hand drive Volga from a driver, I'm not too sure who it was, because he was in Trigger's colours and race number. But overall, it was a good meeting. There were 6 late arrivals in the Unlimiteds, and there was that massive crash in heat number 2, which involved Ricky Beasley, Lips, and who was the other one? And the Volga itself, which ended up in a massive fire. Did you see that clip, Jordan?
Yeah, no, I've seen it today. It was, it did certainly go up, and I'm just thankful that all 3 drivers were able to walk away from that unscathed.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, it happened right in front of me. I was invited onto the infield to take some photos for the website, and of course, when it happened right in front of me, it just, the whole place, I mean, there was people sort of screaming even, but luckily, as we say, everyone was all okay, and the crash was pretty mental. Lips went in so quickly, it was unbelievable. But yeah, thankfully everyone was okay. Also on the day, there was around 60 Street Bangers, which, as expected, were pretty entertaining. Nothing too much to report there. I'm going to move
sorry,
on.
Matt,
Just
quickly, I noticed on the video, was there a Toyota Celica there in the Street
Yes,
Bang?
there was. In the Street Banger class, there was.
Yeah.
I've not seen one race before since I've been going racing, so
No,
I don't think it's
that's
the first, but
That's actually what I was going to ask you. I don't think I've ever seen one race, actually. Toyota Celica.
I'm not too sure if it is the first in the sport, but it's the first I've seen anyway since I've been turning meeting around the country. So I'm not too sure that it's from, but it looked pretty cool. Pretty cool, this Leaker. We're going to move on to the news section now. There's quite a bit to talk about, isn't there? We're going to kick things off with a planned Hoppo tribute meeting at Aldershot Raceway on Sunday the 17th of September. This has been organised by the Smarties Banger team, so expect a lot of their Smarties drivers to be out there, with a fair few guests as well. This meeting is to be run as micro back to basics, strictly no KAs or K11s, or modern Fiestas, shall I say. But that sounds to be a good meeting. The back to basic class would have suited Hoppo very well if he was still with us today. So we're hoping for a good turnout there. Maybe at least 50 cars would be very nice. I reckon at least 60. I mean, why not? A few weeks ago, we say well done to 247 Lee Clark Bro, who took the 2 Litre World of Shell Championship at Kings Lynn. And now for some big announcements, Jordan, which come in the form of some Granada meetings. The first is at Mildenhall for 2018. A date is to be confirmed. It's going to be strictly Mark 1 and Mark 2 Granadas, so no Mark 3s. However, Mildenhall's not the first. This is not the first time Mildenhall's hosted a Granada meeting, is it?
No, absolutely not. I think it was 2012. What people are considering one of the 3 big Granada meetings that we've had in recent times. I think in 2012 they got about 100 Mark 1 and Mark 2s, and people saying that the action was absolutely brilliant that night. So maybe next year we could see similar numbers and similar action.
Yeah, hopefully we'll do. Again, there's been plenty of debate on Oval Chat whether Mildenhall stolen the idea, which I disagree with totally, because Mildenhall was one of the first tracks to host these Granada meetings before all the other tracks got hold of the idea. So it's nice to see Mildenhall do their own take on it again next year. Like we said, no Mark 3, so just Mark 1s and Mark 2s. And we wonder if they do your format, Jordan. I mean, what happened? We don't know, do we?
No, I don't know. I do think that format would work quite well, because I think Mark 1s and Mark 2s are sort of beginning to get a bit of a classic car at the moment. And
yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They are. And of course, Kings Lynn has already announced some fixtures for 2018 already. The first one is on the 2nd of June next year for all Volvo bangers. What do you think of that? Do you think that would be a good fixture?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, I think that is one to look out for next year. I mean, people were saying on Saturday night, even during the meeting, I had a few little rumours like Volvos would be good here. You know, Volvo's always good on show, and there's more of them about, so there'll probably be a little bit more wrecking. So, you know, if it gets the numbers again, similar to Saturday night for the Granadas, it could be a good meeting.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be good. Of course, for those who don't know, Eastbourne ran an old Volvo meeting a few years back. I think they probably got about 15 cars, but I'm sure Trackstar will do a good job for next year's all Volvo meeting. Maybe, let's hope for maybe... What do you think? How many would be a good target?
Maybe,
it's hard to say, isn't it?
Yeah, it is hard to say. Obviously, none of the fixtures have been announced yet, but maybe 60 to 80 cars would be good.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That would be nice.
Yeah, that'd be good.
There's still another 2 fixtures they've announced for next year. On the 18th, it's a 2-day meeting. This one actually on the 18th of August, the Saturday, you've got all Bluebirds, Primeras, and Cavaliers. And on Sunday the 19th, we've got a pre-90 2-litre rear-wheel drive. So a 2-dayer for anybody around the country that fancies a 2-day meeting up north. I think it sounds pretty good. It's a good mix of cars there, so nothing too modern. And you don't see many Cavaliers race these days. Same with Bluebirds, so it'd be nice to see them on the Saturday, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no, well, I think Stoke run an all Cavalier meeting earlier in the season, and as much as the numbers probably weren't as big as everyone thought, people were saying it was a good meeting. So, yeah, like you say, with that mix of cars, it should be a good meeting. And as well, they're running alongside the Saloon-Stock Car World Final, so looks to be an all-action packed meeting, that does.
Oh, I never realised that. Same night as the Saloon World Final?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Learn something new every day. So that sounds like a fantastic weekend. I wouldn't mind going to that, actually. I mean, as you say, on the Saturday, you've got a nice mixture of cars with the Saloon World Final, and on the Sunday, you've got a pre-92 litre all drive, so that should be pretty decent. Any other news you want to bring up?
Yeah, just this week we've learned that Arena Essex are going to be hosting the Royal Rawlins testimonial meeting.
Oh yes, of course.
It will be a 2-day event in June on a Saturday and Sunday, with day one being all Mark 1 and Mark 2s. There you go, another Mark 1 and Mark 2 meeting. And on the Sunday will be 390 unlimited back to basics with the Bears Bash rules enforced on that one. So yeah, that should be a really good meeting as well, actually.
Yeah, it should be good. So yet again, we've got another Granada meeting on a Saturday. Then the Sunday, maybe a sort of Bears Bash type meeting / Firecracker type meeting. As some people have been suggesting online. So that's another good 2-day meeting to go to in 2018. So that should be good. Any opinions you want to add to the next topic? Any little pieces you want to add?
Right, I don't know if you and Andy mentioned this the other week, but I've been debating about this for a while. It's the dreaded, in some ways, turning around rule.
Ooh, yes, a huge topic in banger racing.
Yes, I'm sort of in two minds about it, actually. I think if it's the right meeting for it, definitely allow it if the drivers are up for it. But maybe at a classic meeting, it may not be such a good idea.
No, I think classic meetings, no-go, certainly. For example, Mildenhall Pre-70. However, I think it depends on the meeting. Like Firecracker, for example. Back in the days of when Firecracker was huge and you had about 200 cars on the night and you had Yanks going on Oppo. I mean, that was, to me, I think it depends on the meeting, really, and depends on the cars.
Yeah, no, definitely. The old Firecrackers were incredible when you used to get, like you say, the old Yanks turning around and even like in some ways the PRR World Finals and all that, drivers trying to take out the race leader and all that. And in some ways it does develop new rivalries, which, we all love in this day and age, a good rivalry, don't we? But
of course, because some people take it too seriously on the track, we might add.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it is a tough one. I mean, to me, in my opinion, it depends on the meeting and the class of cars. Like I said, if you've got pre-70s, then no. Unlimiteds, I think, yes. Depending on the meeting. For example, Firecracker. I think Firecracker was the home of going on Oppo around the track. So yeah, and like World Final, for example. What do you think on the World Final at Ipswich? Do you think that should be Oppo on Benz or not?
Yeah, no, I actually really like Oppo at the Ipswich World Final. I mean, it used to be quite a roddy race, if you don't mind me using that phrase. But in recent times, with the turning around rule, it's definitely livened it up. And we saw last year, Scott Cornish was leading pretty much the whole race, only to be taken out by one of the Carrots on opposite on turn 2. So, yeah, it certainly has livened it up. But again, some drivers love the idea, others don't.
Yeah, my heart says no to Oppo in any form on World Final night. However, given it's a World Final, you want there to be a bit of controversy, don't you?
Yeah, no. It wouldn't be a World Final without any controversy, would it?
No, it wouldn't. And of course, the track is huge now as well. I mean, the World Final stopped at Wimbledon back in 2007, with 2008 being the first one to build at Ipswich. And did you ever go to Wimbledon for the World Final?
No, I didn't actually. I mean, Wimbledon was one of our local tracks, but me and my dad never got there, sadly.
No.
It's
I went to three. Really. I mean, I've not been to an Ipswich one yet, but from what I've heard, the atmosphere is completely different. Not in I wouldn't say in a bad way, but they're completely different venues. One's a massive stadium, and the other's a bit more open. But the facilities are pretty massive now since my last visit. You got grandstands and everything now, aren't they?
Yeah, no. Dean Wood's done an amazing job, in my opinion, with the stadium. I mean, trying to make oval racing big again, and we always say like the sport deserves better, and I think that's what Dean Wood's trying to do. So, yeah, full credit to him.
Go on, carry on.
No, I was just going to say I don't have anything to compare the Ipswich World Final atmosphere to, but I actually always enjoy the atmosphere on Ipswich World Final night. It's got a sort of a party vibe about it. I mean, you do get a few people that can't handle the drink and all that, but you'll get that at any big meeting.
Yeah,
so,
any meeting, really.
Yeah, but no, I enjoy it.
Andy Watts has left a message on our Spreaker. He said, "Guess who's commentating at the Hoppo meeting?" So I'm guessing that's the man himself. So
yeah,
it'd be cool that he's going to be there. A nice little surprise for me. I'm quite happy about that. So yeah, 17th of September, Andy Watts is back at Aldershot Raceway for the Hoppo Memorial. So that's brilliant. I'm happy to hear that. Anyway, moving on now. We've got the discussion. So similar to the opinion, but we'd like to get the listeners involved as well. So we've got 2 points to discuss. The first one is, if you had your own promotion, which tracks would you have, and what sort of meetings would you run? So, do you want to start, Jordan, or shall I?
No, I'll start if you want. The tracks that I'd have are Avena Essex. Partly because that is a track that I've gone to the most. Me and my dad used to go there every Sunday, pretty much. When you had the Gladiator and Bad Company War, and it used to be absolutely brilliant. Used to get some really good racing and all formulas as well. And Dover as well, partly for the reason because I've got a similar driver base when you look at the National Banger domestics with the likes of TMT and all that, going down to Dover as well. So the tracks I'd have are Avena and Dover.
What sort of meetings would you run at these tracks?
I'd actually do the Rookie Bangers back to basic build, with some National Bangers mixed in as well, with all sorts, running micros one week and then unlimiteds and maybe a few 2 litres as well.
I'm not surprised. Yeah. I'm actually a little bit surprised you brought up Dover, actually. Not only because I'm a bit surprised it had been any sort of dream list, but I miss Dover myself. I used to go once every year to the big van meeting on the Bank Holiday Monday in May, and I think it's a very underrated track. It's a shame it's not got much of a driver base, because it's a weird track, isn't it? It's sort of a long. They've got long straights, but it's very narrow, isn't it? Once you get on the bends. Yeah,
and to be honest, I've never been myself, but the corners look really tight as well. So I think it will always produce some really good action, even if numbers are a little bit low.
Yeah, Dover's one of those tracks that I felt if it had a bigger pit space and a bit more local driver support, it would be a fantastic venue, not just for rookies, but for national bangers. When I used to go to the van meeting, all you needed was about 15 vans for a decent session. So I think Dover would be on my list somewhere if I had a B Empire like Speedworth. So yeah, I think it's a good little track to have. With me, I'd probably go for Aldershot and Mildenhall. I'd run them to both different styles. I'd have Mildenhall more as a national banger track, and Dover more as a back to basic / rookie track. Purely because I think Mildenhall, I can't see Mildenhall rookies ever suiting Mildenhall Stadium myself. Maybe one day in the future, but not at the moment. Whereas Aldershot, the back to basic format is doing really well for itself, hitting on average between 30 to 60 cars per meeting. So I think I'd go for them 2 tracks. I wouldn't be too greedy and have any more than that. Maybe Dover, I could pop in there as well. I'd probably do some sort of stupid Mildenhall big van meeting and put on like a £10,000 prize fund for top vans and top paint and that kind of thing. So that's what I'd have. Any comments? I don't think we've got any comments live. No, we haven't, but I'm sure people that are listening have got a little own ideas in their head. So I don't know. Do you think 2 tracks is enough, or would you be greedy and have a few more?
I don't know. I sort of think that maybe, people do say that Dean Wood, guy run Speedworth, is a little bit greedy having all the tracks that he does, but I think 2's enough, to be honest. I think
2, yeah. Maybe 3 at a push.
Yeah, maybe 3 at a push. I think if you've got any more than that, I think then you're getting into the sort of area of maybe you're needing a lot more people to work for you, helping you organise meetings, and then you've got scrutineers and
and of course you can concentrate. And of course you can concentrate on your own little track rather than multiple tracks.
Yeah, exactly. And there's less of a chance of meetings clashing, I think, as well in some ways.
Okay, now we're going to move on to the next part of the discussion. This has been, I wouldn't say huge talking point. I say it's been mentioned here and now on Facebook. Our back to basics killing domestic bangers and national bangers as well, shall I add? So there's been, for people that go to Speedworth meetings a lot, in the last few years, domestic bangers have done really well, especially at Aldershot and mainly Eastbourne. However, in the last year or so, the turnouts have gone downhill quite massively. And this is because the back to basic class has really risen in terms of numbers, whether it's at Aldershot, Yarmouth, or Eastbourne. What would you think of this, Jordan? Do you think it's good having 3 classes, or do you think really the back to basics are killing the domestic bangers and national bangers nationwide?
No, actually, I've never been to a back to basic meeting, but from the videos I've seen, they look absolutely incredible. They look great fun as well.
Yeah, they are. I mean, from a driver viewpoint, they're cheap, easy, get them done within a day or so. And then from a spectator viewpoint, okay, you get nudge and spin heats, which aren't too great, but then when you get to the final, it's all out carnage.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think back to basics are what the Speedway F domestic bangers used to be when they first started.
Yeah, they are, exactly. That's the whole point that myself personally is trying to make, because...
Yeah.
I mean, national bangers have evolved in the last 10, 20 years massively, and the domestic bangers at Speedway have done the same thing as the nationals. They've gone up another level, so then you now end up with a third banger formula, now the back to basics, and it seems to be that people are putting the blame on the back to basics for doing well. Yeah,
no, I don't agree with that myself, to be honest. I think that national bangers have slowly just killed themselves with the amount of money that's putting into them, the amount of effort and all that. I think we needed a third banger formula like back to basics to try and get the normal average mechanic or driver back into the sport, because not everyone's going to want to spend £450 on an engine and for their Scorpio or whatever. You know what I mean? I know, it's one of them tricky ones, really. But,
yeah, it is. I think we should be glad that we got three formulas, because everyone's three classes of banger racing, because everyone's got choice now, whether a spectator or a driver. I mean, it's not personally what I would like. I'd like to have one, maybe two. But the thing is, a lot of people don't like national bangers. A lot of people do like national bangers, so you end up with a debate. So let's keep the national bangers. You've got domestic bangers, which I think are sort of still popular with some individuals, or a fair few, but they're sort of in the middle with a lot of people.
No.
So I think maybe you could keep them for the people that want to support that sort of class and carry on racing with them. And then you've got back to basics, which is for not just the national banger drivers, but also for anyone of any age that wants to get into contact motorsport to give it a go and see what they think of it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what the back to basics are almost good for. Like, they do get the novice drivers involved, maybe the people that have just come out of junior bangers or whatever, just to sort of like introduce them to the contact motorsport, because contact motorsport is completely different to anything else.
And not only is it a bit less competitive for new drivers, a bit easier to compete with other drivers for beginners, but there's more of a variety of cars out there as well. So like with your domestic bangers at Speedway, you're not seeing just Honda Civics and Focuses, are you? You're seeing a completely different mix of cars.
Yeah, and you are seeing cars which you'd think you'd never see on a banger track before, like we've seen in the last couple of weeks in the Unlimited back to basics, like the Volkswagen Beetles.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, there's been quite a few of them this year, actually.
Yeah,
and there's been one at Wimbledon, and there was two at Eastbourne, I believe, on Wednesday, and maybe one at Yarmouth as well. So there's been quite a few.
Yeah, and also I think like back to basics do bring that fun element back into banger racing, because obviously that's not to say that national bangers aren't fun, but as you said, they are more of a serious side to the sport, and not everyone wants to have that serious side to it. Some people do just want to go out, ship a car in a day or a few hours, get to the track, race it, have a good crash, have a good laugh, and then go back home and get up for work the next morning.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everyone's got the choice now. I think that's the main thing. So if you want to have a go back to basics, you've got that. If you want to do domestic bangers at Speedway or any other promotion, you still got that. And if you want to do nationals, you still got that. And of course, it's not just we've still got nationals. You have still got decent national banger meetings across the nation. You've got the Bears meeting, which is ran to a certain build rule, and that seems to do really well. So again, national bangers, we're not exactly slagging them off completely. It depends on the promotion and the track, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, I think this is what I was trying to say at the start of the show. I think nowadays you have got to pick and choose your meetings a lot more carefully. Obviously, we know money's tight, so you can't get to a meeting every single week, but you have got to look at what meetings may be decent and others which may be a little bit more less crashy and a lot more racy.
Yeah.
And I think,
like, let's pick some promotions out the hat, like Trackstar. They do really well for the national banger side of things. Always
Yeah, they
get
do.
good turnouts, plenty of action, and some cool cars as well. Mildenhall I think has had a solid first year. Obviously,
Yeah, no,
going
I
into
do
the
as
second
well.
year, I reckon they can build on that and do even better than the first year. So, I mean, the Northern National Banger scene does really well. The Southern one not so well, but it does. I think it really depends on the promotion and the track, really. So, that's our advice, really. Just pick and choose your meetings. Otherwise, yeah, pick and choose.
You may be disappointed.
Yeah. Like if you go to this certain, world qualifying meetings and there's no build up, then if you're not sure, don't go and waste your money.
Yeah.
Just go somewhere where you think could be worth going to. So yeah, we're gonna finish now in the last section of the podcast. Quite a short live podcast tonight, but we're gonna finish with the fixtures. So we've got quite a few. We've got on Saturday, just the one fixture to mention. Mildenhall Stadium hosts a micro banger meeting, of which there are currently 41 cars booked in for that as of going live with this podcast. So that should be a decent meeting. Hopefully plenty of crashing to be seen there. It is worth mentioning these are just a few top picks from the weekend, not every single fixture out there. We move on to Sunday, Bank Holiday Sunday. Aldershot hosts another micro bang meeting also with 29 booked in, so not too many there, but with the micro bangers, they always seem to put on a show, so hopefully some good crash in there. Yarmouth then hosts also on Sunday its second unlimited back to basics session of the year, also including a caravan destruction derby. 33 unlimiteds booked in and 6 caravans. That should be a good meeting. It is worth saying that Yarmouth this year as well has also had a good year for back to basics. And they've had, I think, 5 caravan DDs this year. So that's pretty insane, isn't it? To have five caravan DDs within like a month or so.
Yeah, no, it is. And fair play to Speedref, actually. Yarmouth has really become quite good again this year. I mean, and that's, in my opinion, that is all down to the back to basics.
It is.
Actually,
It is exactly.
If it was just a normal National Bang of Unlimited meeting, like a World Qualifier, you're probably looking at 20 cars, maybe even less than that. So to get them on double that for the back to basics is really good. So it should be a good meeting.
Rolled the dice out for the back to basics at Yarmouth with 2 unlimited back to basics, and it's going quite well. So that's good to see. Finally on Sunday, another top pick is St Day hosts their annual 2-litre Bone Shaker meeting, which has changed format this year. It used to be hosted regularly on the Easter Sunday, but they decided to swap it this year, bizarrely, to the August Bank Holiday slot. So whether that works or not remains to be seen. But
I think what they tried to do is they wanted to swap Plat and Blockbuster.
Yeah, they
so
did.
It should have been Blockbuster this Sunday, but that ended up getting should have been.
The Blockbuster, it is worth mentioning, did get cancelled in the end because of no interest, which is a shame, because when I first saw the announcement of the Bone Shaker and Blockbuster being swapped, I was kind of hoping that the Blockbuster wouldn't be amazing but would be a bit decent again this year, and the same with the Bone Shaker. So it's a bit hit and miss, because I used to go to them meetings so many years ago, and they're both really good meetings, and over the last 5 or so years they've really lost numbers, and it's a shame really, because even though St Day's not a massive popular track with people nationwide, it's a nice little track to go to, so it's a bit of a shame to see not
and you
many
don't need
book in.
And you don't need massive numbers there either to make a good race.
Just like Dover, you don't need a huge turnout for decent action at St Day. And then we move to Bank Holiday Monday, which is the feast of van banger racing all over the country. And we start at Stand Lake, which is the one I will be attending. So big vans, 3.5 tonne limit. Also featuring the 1800cc street bangers. I would expect at least 15 big vans there, and hopefully a camper van on the day from I can't remember his name now. It's gone. Samuel Lewis. That's it. Whether he gets it done in time, who knows? But it does look really cool. I've only seen one little picture of it. Then you have the second annual Crash for Cancer big van meeting at Kings Lynn. Currently 70 plus vans booked in for that. There's also a surprise to be there on the day. Whether it's a driver or van remains to be seen. We discussed this the other week on Full Throttle. I'm personally hoping for 33 Simon Reed.
I know.
What do you think on that one?
I'd love to see it, actually. I would. Simon Reed, is a legend of the sport, and always one of them entertainers, never afraid to get an unusual car or an unusual van. I think I remember his van completely falling apart at a Mildenhall big van meeting. I think it was 2004.
Yeah, the library van.
Yeah. And he actually brought it back out for the DD, and he just stuck his roof
plate on top.
On his helmet,
yeah.
Raced around, and that'd be great to see Simon Reed back out on Monday.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. I mean, as we say, no idea whether it means a driver or van. I mean, if it is a van, I imagine it or assume it would be something either very rare or very, very old. So I look forward to seeing what that is on the day. Also, the third and final big van meeting to mention is at Arena Essex. No booking list for that, I'm afraid, if you're looking forward to going to that meeting. But a bit of a talking point last year, wasn't it? With 3 coaches.
Yeah, this was the meeting that started the debate of
Is it a big van meeting? Is it a big van meeting
or a bus meeting? Yeah.
So big vans, obviously you're picturing transits and maybe your dormobiles and that kind of thing. But in a shock twist last year, we saw on Facebook a coach was on Facebook, and then before you know it, another 2 drivers joined the bandwagon of having coaches. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say really. They weren't just little coaches; they were big coaches, weren't they?
Yeah, no, they were big. I think if they're used sensibly, and I will use that word sensibly, as in they don't really go for the big, I want to get a good cover photo for Facebook hit or whatever. I think big if they
T-bones.
Yeah, exactly. I think if they just use them a bit, nudge and spin, I think it'll be good. But who knows?
Yeah, there was. It is worth mentioning. Terry Mansfield, 76, had a coach at Mildenhall Unlimited Vans back in 2005, and he drove it very sensibly. He just spun and turned people around. So it depends. I think maybe let one get away with it at most, but personally, I'm not too keen on them. But we will see. But people carriers are being allowed this year. Yeah, go on.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. People carriers are being allowed this year, so you may get predominantly the 3/4 of the field maybe hosting,
and potentially the return of the Sanyong Rodius.
Yeah, exactly.
If they go on,
that was actually the first time we saw a Rodius out on track, weren't it? John Harris.
Yeah, something like that. It was the first banger. Was at a van? Was the first Sanyong was actually at a van meeting at Arena Essex so many years ago. But so on the day you're looking at a big van fixture. Whether you get any coaches, I very much doubt it this year, but you might get a few people carriers as well. But moving on to the last fixture, Dover hosts its annual Rookie Banger Kent Championship, which I imagine should be a good meeting. The Rookie Bangers are well supported down at Dover, so that's all good. I think it's time to wrap it up there. Before we do, I'd just like to mention me after more reporters for the website, or scribes as you would call them back in the Racers Magazine days. So what we're looking for is a little intro, a few lines on who, how many cars turned up and who's there, that kind of thing. Then a few lines on each race, on the action, and then an overview or a review of the meeting, shall I say? A few lines on that as well. So thank you for listening. Thank you for joining Jordan tonight.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Enjoyed it very much.
That's all right. We'll be back. You'll be back next week, won't you? For
yes, I will.
Episode 3. Thank God that Andy's back next week. I sort of messed up at the start there. This is the 3rd attempt of recording, so if you're listening, Andy, I can't wait until you return. I really can't. So thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow us on Spreaker to listen to our latest live podcast. That's next Thursday from 8 PM, where we will be talking all the bank holiday meetings, plus much more. So I've been Matt Josie, and obviously Jordan Hollands as well. So thank you for listening, and good night.